Hello, friends. Welcome to Transcendent Astrology and Tarot. My name is Michelle-Fondinauthor. I'm an author, speaker, astrologer, and tarot reader, and welcome to the video on Gemini season of 2024. We're going to talk about the planetary aspects, where the planets are at the beginning and at the end of Gemini season, and what you might need to look out for and really help enhance your growth throughout Gemini season. So if you are interested, please do stay tuned. If you're new to my channel, welcome. Thank you for subscribing below. Click on the bell, scroll up to all for all notifications. And thank you for giving the video a thumbs up. I do astrology and tarot readings. You can book them at my website, michellefondinauthor.com. So Gemini season starts on May 20th of 2024, and it ends on June 20th of 2024. Now, the days are variable this year for the sun signs, and it's because of leap year. So we have that extra day in February, and that kind of pushes everything. So as you can see by the chart, we have the sun at 0 degrees Gemini. And one thing I really want to take note, if you are newer to astrology, is that the planetary bodies, if you're looking down at the chart or looking at a chart, the planetary bodies appear to be going counterclockwise in the wheel, with the exception of the planets that happen to be in retrograde. So if you are looking at the chart right now, you can see that the sun is at 0 degrees of Gemini, and the only planet we have in retrograde throughout this entire season of Gemini is Pluto. Pluto is retrograde currently in Aquarius, and later on this year, it will move into Capricorn. But Pluto starts out at 2 degrees Aquarius. That is the only planet that is in retrograde. And of course, the lunar nodes are always in retrograde motion. If you look at the top of the chart, you can see that we have Saturn and then Neptune still in Pisces. We have the North Node and Mars very close to the North Node, and Chiron all in Aries. We have Mercury in Taurus, and we have Uranus, Venus, Jupiter, all still in Taurus. And the moon at the start of Gemini season is in Libra. And so that pretty much sums it up for the beginning of Gemini season. And then we will go through some of those planetary aspects, of course, to help you understand where the energy lies as we start. One thing I want to note about my videos in particular, as I go through the signs of the zodiac per season, is that I don't place too much focus on the moon. The reason why when we go through the dates, I'm not placing too much focus on the moon is because I do a full moon video and I do a new moon video on my channel, which already takes up an entire video on the moon and the moon's aspects. For these seasonal videos, what I am focusing on are planetary aspects that happen to be slower in nature, that they don't always hit or come together or go in opposition or square so often. So I'm going to highlight the ones that are more rare. The moon moves signs every 2.5 days. And so we really are in constant motion with the feelings of the moon and where it is in the zodiac. And that's just because we're used to it. We're used to the moon moving every 2.5 days. So it's not something extraordinary that happens. It's something that's rather ordinary. If you're new to my channel, I just want to explain why I'm not doing the moon every single day of the seasons when we're talking about a seasoned video. Let's do a quick overview of what the major planetary players are doing during this Gemini season in 2024. And I kind of want to start with Neptune. Neptune is a planet that dissolves boundaries. Neptune is imagination and it's dreamy. And when we think about what it's doing, it's at 29 degrees Pisces in its home sign. Now, Neptune moves very, very, very slowly. So Neptune is not rushing through any sign here. But what I like is that Neptune is creating some favorable aspects throughout Gemini season. We have Neptune sextile Uranus in Taurus, Venus in Taurus, Jupiter in Taurus, and the Sun in Gemini. Neptune will be squaring the Moon, Venus, Mercury, and the Sun. Now that's a less favorable aspect, but those are just momentary. Those are not going to last very long throughout Gemini season. Let's look at Saturn. We have Saturn in Pisces, which will be sextile Uranus and Mercury, then square the Sun and Venus. Let's talk about Pluto for a moment. Pluto usually gets the bad rap here. Now, being that Pluto is in retrograde in Aquarius, it is more highlighted. Any planet that is in retrograde motion tends to put an exclamation point or an emphasis on that particular planet. Pluto is no different. Pluto moves very slowly. It takes roughly 240 years to go the tour of the zodiac wheel, so Pluto moves extremely slowly. Now, Pluto does get a bad rap as the planet of transformation, the underworld, the dark emotions, dark feelings, shadow side. But it's also the planet of empowerment. It's also the planet of transcending obstacles and transformation. And if you study evolutionary astrology like I do, it is the planet of the soul's evolution. Pluto is quite nice through most of Gemini season. Pluto is the nice player. For most of the season, Pluto is either trine or sextile the other planetary bodies, with one exception. From June 3rd to June 18th, Mars will be squaring Pluto, and this can provide some challenges, which we'll talk about later on in the video. Let's go ahead and take a look at what Gemini represents for those of you who are newer to astrology. Now, the timestamps are below. If you already know what Gemini represents, then you can go ahead and scooch on ahead with those timestamps. Gemini is a mutable air sign. The ruler of Gemini is Mercury. Now, the great thing about this Gemini season is that Mercury is going to spend a fair amount of time in its home sign. So we're going to get that extra Gemini energy with Mercury in Gemini during Gemini season, which is fantastic for the Gemini energy. Gemini being mutable air, it's about being changeable. And why is it a mutable sign? It's because at the end of Gemini season, we have the start of summer. So any mutable sign is always on the cusp of the changing of the seasons. Gemini is quick, fast, rapid, moving, changing. It doesn't stay in one place for too long. Being an air sign, air changes and moves direction. It's sometimes fast and slow. It's sometimes going in one direction and then immediately changes into the other direction. Gemini, because it's ruled by Mercury, is responsible for transportation and short distance travel. So if we think about Mercury being the planetary ruler of Gemini, it's about communication, everything that has to do with communicating, everything that has to do perhaps even with electronic signals, if you will, satellite signals. Mercury is about transmitting signals from point A to point B. Mercury is also the messenger of the gods. And so if you think about it, Mercury is also having to do with travel or transportation. When we think about moving from Taurus season to Gemini season, it is quite a change because it can appear that moving from slow tortoise moving Taurus to quick bunny moving Gemini, it's such a stark difference, and it is. The seeds that we planted in Taurus to help them to grow and sprout is going to take root and shoot up in Gemini. So that is the energy of Gemini. Let's go ahead and take a look at what's going on May 20th at the start of Gemini season with these planetary aspects. The first thing, if you're looking at the chart, we have the Sun, Jupiter, Venus, and Uranus all conjunct. Now, the difference is that the Sun is in Gemini, while Jupiter, Venus, and Uranus are still in Taurus. So that is the only difference about this conjunction, is that They are conjunct. We have the sun at 0 degrees Gemini. We have Uranus at 23 degrees of Taurus, but that's still only 7 degrees apart. 7 degrees apart from point A to point B is still a conjunction. So these planets are still sleeping together in the same bed, if you will. It's just that the sun has maybe moved to a mattress on the floor, right? That's the way I like to describe conjunctions, that they're sharing a room, they're sharing a bed, and in this case, since the sun has moved out of Taurus, it might be sleeping on the mattress on the floor while the other three are sharing a big bed. I like this conjunction together. So if we're to move in the direction of the zodiac wheel, we're going to start with Uranus. So Uranus being at 23 degree Taurus is the planet of innovation, major change, quick transformation, brilliant ideas, science and technology. And it is very, very close to Venus at 25 degrees Taurus. Venus is about beauty and money and everything gorgeous and beautiful and expanding into that feminine yin energy. I like the fact that Uranus is touching Venus because it could be about unexpected beauty, unexpected money, unexpected love and romance. And then we have Venus touching Jupiter at 28 degrees of Taurus, which that is about Jupiter expanding, making things more spiritual, making Venus and its beauty more noticeable out there in the world. And then we have the sun shining a light on all of that. And I really feel like there's a lot of really, really good, positive, beautiful, expansive energy here as we start off Gemini season. It is undeniable that this is going to feel very good. Another thing that I like is that Pluto retrograde in Aquarius is trine this conjunction. It is trine notably the Sun, Jupiter, and Venus in Taurus. Now, trines create harmony, compassion, sympathy, and Pluto is not necessarily a planet of sympathy and compassion. It's a planet that likes to stir up the dark side. But Pluto being trine this major conjunction with the Sun, Jupiter, Venus, and Uranus is actually giving permission to maybe look at the more sticky details and create something beautiful out of them. And Pluto is like helping you look at those sticky details of change, transformation, personal growth, or growth in relationships or growth in money. Pluto is not being the bad player here or playing the devil on the shoulder. It's more like giving a helping hand, saying, hey, you want to create prosperity with Venus, Jupiter, and the Sun there? You want to create prosperity? Let me help you work through the details that might be holding you back from prosperity. You want to create more love in your life with Jupiter, Venus, and the Sun. You want to create more love in your life? Here, let me help you clear out the negativity of your past relationships so we can open up the doors and you can create new love. So I really, really like that trine. I want to mention this next planetary aspect because it's here. And it's something that I haven't mentioned before, but when doing the research on this, I just want to outline this because some of you might see it in a chart and not know about this. We have Pluto sextile Neptune in Pisces. So of course, Pluto is in Aquarius retrograde and it's sextile Neptune in Pisces. This planetary aspect of Pluto sextile Neptune in Pisces is an 87-year aspect. 87 years, guys. It started in 1947 and it will be in this planetary aspect until 2034. It creates a pioneering spirit that fosters a sense of bravery to question the status quo. It creates a drive to break down structures that are not making sense anymore, and to question those structures. It's also going to help you to question belief systems that make no sense. And on a societal level, Pluto in Aquarius, on a societal level, we are actually seeing this. So if you're looking at a chart and you do see this Pluto sextile Neptune, know that this has been going on since 1947. It will continue to go on until 2034. The only challenging aspect we have on May 20th as we start off Gemini season is we have Mercury, the planet that rules Gemini. Mercury is still in Taurus and it is squaring Pluto in Aquarius. This could indicate difficulties in communicating. It could indicate tension in communicating, where Mercury wants to say something, but Pluto is not necessarily going to help Mercury be nice about it, because Mercury being in Taurus is about stability and doing things one step at a time, which Mercury does not necessarily like being in slower signs. This aspect could suggest having trouble expressing ideas. And so I would just be careful on May 20th if you're trying to communicate with somebody and you're trying to transmit your ideas and it's just not working. All you need to do is just wait a day or two till Mercury moves out of this square to Pluto. Then we go to May 23rd of 2024, where we have the full moon in Sagittarius that's happening at 1:29 a.m. Pacific time. The moon is at 2 degrees 55 minutes Sagittarius and the sun is at 2 degrees 55 minutes Gemini. So I'm not going to say a whole lot about this lunation since I will be producing and posting a video on the full moon in Sagittarius that will be posted next Wednesday, May 15th. The second aspect that I'd like to talk about that's happening on May 23rd is Venus conjunct Jupiter at 29 degrees Taurus, 23 minutes. Now, this is very exciting. This is when this conjunction comes exact. We think about Venus in the sign of Taurus, where it is at home. It feels loved and at home, and it loves making things beautiful in slow moving Taurus. It loves planting the seeds for flowers to bloom, for trees to grow, for beautiful things to happen. And its exact conjunction to Jupiter, the planet of expansion and growth. And this is just a beautiful, wonderful, auspicious conjunction. It's a blending of harmony and love. Just be careful not to go in excess with this beautiful conjunction, because May 23rd, with this beautiful conjunction between Venus and Jupiter in Taurus, you might have a tendency to spend too much, to eat too much, to go out and be a little more extravagant. So this aspect does have a tendency toward excess. Just be careful during this time. On May 25th, 2024, at 4:53 p.m. Pacific time, Jupiter ingresses into Gemini, which is kind of a big deal. Jupiter stays in a sign for 13 months. So Jupiter will be in Gemini from May 25th, 2024 through June 9th of 2025. Please do watch out. In 2 weeks, I will be posting a video on Jupiter in Gemini for the next 13 months, and I'll be doing a 12 rising signs interpretation for Jupiter in Gemini. Look out for that. On May 29th at 10:08 Pacific time, we have Mars in an exact conjunction with Chiron in Aries. Now, this is a big deal, guys. If you have not yet viewed my video on Mercury conjunct Chiron 3 times in Aries in 2024, I'm going to post that link right here so that you can go ahead and check it out after this video. Since Chiron has been in Aries, there have been many planetary bodies that have touched Chiron, gotten into bed with Chiron, and Chiron, of course, is known as the wounded healer. Chiron helps us dig up our deep, unresolved wounds from this lifetime and also past lifetimes. And when we think about these core wounds, usually something that is happening beneath the surface, oftentimes these are wounds that we are not even aware that we have. We just do things. We go into self-sabotage. We move into actions that are probably not the best choices, but we do these because we have these unresolved wounds. All of us come into life with different core wounds. So what does that mean? Mars being the planet of action, the yang planet, the aggressive planet, and it's in its home sign of Aries, which is the fire starter. Mars finally coming into conjunction with Chiron in Aries is about us taking action on finally resolving a lot of these deep core wounds. This is fantastic because when you view my video on Mercury conjunct Chiron in Aries, you'll notice that by the third conjunction, which just happened on May 6th, we've loosened it up quite a bit. We have loosened up, we have dug them up, those wounds, and we've loosened them up. And Mars is really going to help us to take action. Take action on changing those patterns. Take action on getting rid of those unresolved wounds. Taking action on maybe healing in a very real way the wounds of Chiron in that specific area in your birth chart. And I really, really like this. It might feel painful. It might feel hurtful. You might want to fight with people, but it is for the greater good. It's for the betterment of your soul's evolution, and it's going to be for the betterment of your life in the end. So I really, really, really like this. We also have Mars Chiron sextile the moon in Aquarius. Now, here's the thing. The moon is about our feelings and our emotions. The moon in Aquarius is about feelings and emotions with networking and friends and our community and the world at large. As we're healing these wounds of Chiron and Aries with Mars taking action to heal that, maybe some of that has to do with feelings about your friends, groups, networks. Maybe some of that has to do with feelings about your society, where you're living today. So when we put these together, the moon is really going to enhance that healing. And so really take advantage of this at this time to be able to take actions to move through the healing of the wounds of Chiron. We're going to go ahead and jump right ahead to June 3rd. And on June 3rd at 12:37 a.m. Pacific time, we have Mercury ingressing into Gemini at 0 degrees. Now, as I mentioned, Mercury is at home in Gemini. It's its home sign. Welcome home, Mercury. You're in Gemini now. And so this is where things are going to start to take off. Things are going to move much, much faster, quicker, better communication, faster communication. Things are going to start to move forward. Another thing that is happening from June 3rd to June 18th that I did mention at the beginning of the video is that Mars in Aries and then Taurus, because Mars does change signs, is squaring Pluto in Aquarius. That's happening from June 3rd to June 18th. Now, this is something that you do need to pay attention to because this is going to affect everyone, no matter who you are. This is a transit. On the positive side, Mars squaring Pluto can create drive, motivation, stamina, staying power to get things done, to get moving, to get rolling, to do something amazing. Doing something amazing with your work, with your body, working out, doing weight training, finishing that marathon. That is the positive note for Mars squaring Pluto. However, on the negative side, and this is where you do need to be careful during those 2 weeks, is that Mars squaring Pluto can have a tendency to be a little aggressive and go into warring or fighting mode. One thing that I would actually suggest during this time where Mars is squaring Pluto is to try to find an outlet for all of that energy, because you will be pumped up with a lot more yang aggressive energy. Find a creative outlet for that. It could be literally like going for a run. It could be doing martial arts, kickboxing, weight training, going for a walk every single day during that time. But there's really going to be a need to channel that energy through some physical outlet, through your physical body, and not let it stay put and ruminate and get into the darker aspects of Pluto. On June 4th of 2024 at 8:33 a.m. Pacific time, we have Venus conjunct the Sun at 14 degrees Gemini, 29 minutes. I like this. Venus conjunct the Sun is going to shine brighter for your love life, for money, for good luck, for happiness, joy, for having fun, the pleasures of life. Enjoy, enjoy, enjoy on this day. We've got Venus and the Sun also square Saturn in Pisces. Now, Saturn squaring the Sun and Venus is maybe going to watch over and make sure that the fun doesn't get too out of hand. That the extravagance of maybe wanting to spend money, wanting to go out and go shopping and buy a whole new wardrobe, that's not going to go into excess. Saturn is going to be there to kind of monitor and watch the situation. I don't think this is going to create too much tension. It just might create the boundary so that you don't go too far in your Venus fun. We also have Mercury conjunct Jupiter in Gemini at 2 degrees. I love Mercury conjunct Jupiter in Gemini. The reason is because we spoke about communication being the key thing, communicating your feelings, your wants, your desires, getting things moving. And again, we have that square between Mars and Pluto that is still happening. Talk about getting things moving. This Mercury-Jupiter conjunction and Gemini can certainly get things moving as far as communicating, transportation, travel, getting things just moving and grooving, forward, bigger, better. I love it. It's so nice to have this conjunction here, as well as the Venus-Sun conjunction. Really positive and really nice. At this point, we've got Jupiter, Mercury, Venus, and the Sun all in Gemini. Let's fast forward to June 6th. At 5:37 a.m. Pacific time, we have the new moon in Gemini. Please do stay tuned for my new moon in Gemini video. The Sun, Moon, and Venus are all at 16 degrees Gemini at the time of this new moon. They are squaring Saturn in Pisces. There's a tension between rules and breaking free. So do check out that new moon video in Gemini when I post it on my channel. And that's another reason to subscribe. On June 8th at 9:35 p.m. Pacific time, Mars ingresses into Taurus, which is Venus's sign. So think about that for a moment, guys. Mars has just come out of fiery Aries. Mars loves its home sign of Aries, and it moves into the feminine yin sign of Taurus, which is Venus's sign. It is the polar opposite of Mars. This I actually like, even though Mars may not too much enjoy being in Taurus. This is hard work. This is like salt of the earth energy. Mars is gonna say, so you wanna build a house? Let's get all the tools. Let's go to Home Depot. Let's get the wood. Let's get the nails and the hammers and the shingles and the roof tiles. Let's get it all done. Let's work really, really, really hard to build that house, to get it done. I actually like it. This is really good energy for Mars to dig in deep and do the work necessary to create something that will be stable and long lasting. Now, it doesn't have to be a house. It could be a relationship, depending on where Taurus is in your chart. It could be building a career, building a business. So Mars being in Taurus is going to slow it down and allow Mars to work really hard. And I really like that. Again, there's that physical labor that we spoke about with Mars squaring Pluto. Is that a great outlet for Mars squaring Pluto is that physical labor. Mars moving into Taurus is going to give it the opportunity to have that physical labor. The next aspects that I would like to take a look at happen on June 14th at 9:32 a.m. Pacific time. We have the Sun and Mercury conjunct at 24 degrees 6 minutes in Gemini, and they're also conjunct Venus. Again, we have the Sun, we have Mercury, we have Venus. These are all relatively positive energies about communication, beauty, money, money, shining a light, talking about money, talking about home renovations, talking about beauty, talking about this feminine, passive energy, letting go, having a little bit of fun. I love this. Mercury is in its home sign. Sun, Mercury, Venus are sextile. Mars in Taurus. Now, sextiles are very spiritual aspects. They're good aspects. I really feel like Mars in Taurus is like almost cheering on this Sun, Mercury, and Venus conjunction going, look, if I'm working hard here in Taurus, you guys go out and have some fun. That's almost like the dad staying at home to like work hard in the garden. And while the mom and the kids go out and play in the almost summer sun, Mars is still square Pluto at this time. And we have Neptune in Pisces at 29 degrees, and it's squaring the Sun, Mercury, and Venus. Squares are tension, guys. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. Squares are tension. What could this mean, though? When we talk about this tension, Neptune is about expansion, dissolving boundaries. It's also about water as well. You know, Neptune in Pisces is about water. What is the tension here? The tension could be just letting your imagination run a little bit too wild and not able to set the proper boundaries that Saturn perhaps would give to you, because of course, Saturn is going to give you a dose of reality. Saturn is going to say, hey, Venus, Sun, and Mercury, don't go out there and get too wild. Don't get too drunk. Don't spend too much money. And Neptune is going to perhaps cause this fun to maybe get too much out of hand. Neptune is also in opposition to the moon in Libra. I'd like to fast forward to June 17th at 5:42. Earlier in the day, both Mercury and Venus ingress into Cancer. Together, almost. They both ingress into Cancer. Cancer is the sign of, I like to say it's a sign of the mother. It's very nurturing. It's a cardinal water sign. So really, Cancer marks the beginning of summer. Mercury conjunct Venus at 0 degrees Cancer, 19 minutes, and it's in conjunct Pluto in Aquarius. Inconjuncts can create some tension. Inconjuncts can mean like not getting along. Mercury conjunct Venus could be wanting to talk about family, wanting to stay at home, wanting to talk about emotions. And it being in conjunct Pluto in Aquarius, it could be that there is some conflict to be able to stay at home, just have some fun with the family and talk about your emotions, talk about family things. And Pluto in Aquarius could be like, no, you need to get out there and you need to go network, or you need to go to this picnic that you really don't want to go to. You need to be with people. Then we end Gemini season on June 20th at 1:48 p.m. Pacific time. As we wrap up the astrological aspects of Gemini season, there's just one thing that I want to note on the charts and what is happening during this Gemini season. And I should have said this at the beginning of the video, it's happening now, so be it. One thing I want to note as the planets move in counterclockwise, if you are facing the chart, with the exception of Pluto, which is retrograde, which is moving clockwise, what I want to say is that the two most difficult planets, if you will, and I really don't think there's anything such as bad planets or good planets. I feel like there are planets that are a little bit more challenging. There are planets that are easier to manage. but all the planetary bodies, all the planetary aspects have something to teach us. But when we look at this, when we look at the chart as we go through Gemini season, what we see is that Pluto is the one that is the furthest behind, followed by Saturn in Pisces. And it's almost like they're casting a shadow over the rest of the planetary bodies as they move through Aries, Taurus, and Gemini. Now, of course, the moon, as I mentioned, changes signs every 2.5 days, so we're not going to focus on the moon for the time being. But when I say cast a shadow, what I want to say is that we are in a period of massive change with Pluto in Aquarius. And Pluto is going to dig up things, dig up the dark side, dig up the shadows, and almost shine a light on that. Whether this is in yourself, in your home, in your city, in your neighborhood, in society, it's going to dig up the things that need to be looked at to change. And even though we have so many fun planetary aspects throughout Gemini season, we are still being overlooked by Pluto. And then we are still being overlooked by Saturn in Pisces, because Saturn is the stern father, the principal, right? The elder who is going to set the record straight and say, these are the rules and regulations. Now, Saturn in Pisces can be a little softer, could be a softer father, a softer grandfather, but nonetheless, Saturn is Saturn. Saturn is still going to be looking over you to make sure that you're doing things right. And it's one of those things that really stood out to me as I was looking through the charts for this Gemini season, is that we are going to have a lot of fun in the coming months. There's a lot of things that are very positive, that are very floaty, if you will, where we can have wishes come true, dreams come true. We can have great things happening in our personal lives, money, finances, love. So many great things can happen, but you need to keep in mind that we still have Pluto and Saturn overlooking all of those things, casting a shadow, if you will, but it's not to dampen the party. It's not to put like something dark over the party time. It's more to keep everything in check and to say, look, here is the reality check. Here is kind of what is coming in the near future. Yes, have your fun. Yes, have expansion. Enjoy all these conjunctions with the benefic, favorable, lighter planetary energies. Yes, have your fun. But we're still here, we're watching over things, we're making sure that things do not get out of hand. And we're gonna also help you to understand what things might still be lurking in the shadows. That's all I wanted to say about that. That's not to freak you out or make you think like, oh, there's so many good planetary aspects. Does that mean I'm not gonna have any fun during Gemini season? Does that mean I'm not gonna have growth and expansion and things happening to make me more prosperous? No, it absolutely does not mean that. But if you have this innate sense of self-checking, or if you have this innate sense of immediately thinking of something that could go wrong, that's just Pluto and Saturn just giving you a self-check there. They're just there to support you. And even though it might not seem like, God, Pluto just reminding me of what could go wrong or what I need to clear from my past, like, darn it, why'd you have to remind me of that? It's there to help to serve you. The same thing as Saturn in Pisces. So let's go ahead and take a look at what the tarot has to say about Gemini season. Dear angels and guides, please help this audience understand the overall arching energy during Gemini season of 2024. We've got the Six of Cups. Love it. Cups is represented by the summer. I love it. Six of Cups is about sweetness, tenderness, something beautiful happening, reminiscing, a new love or a past love coming back in. It is the moments of innocence and sharing the moments of innocence. This is so much like the sun in Gemini to me. This is so much like that Venus-Sun conjunction, the Jupiter-Venus-Sun conjunction, the Jupiter and Venus conjunction. I just feel like there's just so many nice little conjunctions happening here. And that really reminds me of the Six of Cups. It says comforting connections, something that is wonderful happening. All right, so what else is happening here during Gemini season? It says the sweet things in life too, by the way. The sweet things in life. I love it. I really feel that Gemini season this year is about the sweet things in life. I love it. Okay, let's see what else, angels and guides for Gemini season. Oh, this one. The Hermit, spiritual mastery. I don't see Gemini season being so much as the Hermit energy, but let's see what's happening. We have guiding light. Okay, we have the guiding light. I feel that this is Saturn in Pisces. What I spoke about. Saturn in Pisces. Now again, Saturn in Pisces during Gemini season isn't going to create all challenging aspects. There are some more favorable aspects. And so I really do feel that you might feel that it's the father looking over your shoulder or the teacher or the principal looking over your shoulder. But Saturn in Pisces, even being the teacher, the elder, the father looking over your shoulder while you're having this sweet fun, I feel that this is a softer energy. It's softer. In Pisces, it's about spiritual mastery. Okay, it's not just about you must follow the rules. I'm Saturn. Let's see what else is going on here during Gemini season of 2024. King of Wands, natural born leader, getting things done. Oh my, oh my, oh my. To me, honestly, I feel like King of Wands here, this fire, I feel like this is Mars. This is Mars moving from Aries into Taurus and getting things done. It's really getting things done for you. I even feel like this is the Mars squaring Pluto, getting things done. We're just gonna do things. We're gonna create action. We're gonna take action. We're gonna get things moving. We are absolutely going to get things done. It's about being creative, but it's about hard work. It's not just one or the other. It's about, we can creatively move through this in Taurus in hard work. I love it. Let's get some qualifiers for each of these cards for Gemini season. So dear angels and guides, can you please qualify the Six of Cups for Gemini season? The moon, the subconscious mind. Yes. Okay. So we've got the moon, right? And we talked about the moon, the subconscious mind with the Six of Cups. I love it. Okay. So what is subconscious mind? Subconscious mind is working through those things that have been hidden. Okay. It's the moon here, but I feel like this is also Pluto. As I said, Pluto and Saturn are kind of casting a shadow over this fun, sweet energy, but it's not to dampen the greatness. It's not to dampen the party, but it is to make you aware. And I feel like the moon is there supporting and helping you, especially as later in the season, the 17th, where we have Mercury and Venus ingressing into Cancer. Cancer's ruler is the moon. And I do feel like maybe toward the beginning of summer, you might meet someone or you might have family gatherings. There's just something happening here that I feel is sweet that has to do with the moon, the emotions, the family, getting really emotionally invested. And I love it because, you know, Gemini is not an emotional sign. It is absolutely not an emotional sign. But we do have a lunation happening, right? We have a new moon in Gemini happening. And we also have Venus there, which Venus is sweet and it's emotional and it's like, let's have some fun here. It's very feminine energy. It's nice. So let's go ahead and do Hermit. What else can you tell us about this Hermit energy for Gemini season? Page of Coins, laying down a foundation. We literally talked about laying down a foundation, didn't we? We literally talked about that. Mars moving into Taurus, laying a foundation. Mars also conjunct Chiron in Aries. That's laying a foundation. Why is it laying a foundation? Because if you don't clear out the crap, if you don't clear out the garbage, you can't lay a new foundation down. You absolutely cannot do it. Because the Hermit, the spiritual mastery, is also Mars conjunct Chiron in Aries, clearing out the wounds, clearing out the crap. So the Page of Coins can lay that new foundation for you. Laying it down, Mars. Laying down that beautiful foundation after you help Chiron and clear the wounds of Chiron. So now for the King of Wands, please and thank you for Gemini season. What else do we have happening here? We've got the Tower card, a reckoning, a reckoning. Oh my goodness me. Oh my goodness me. All right. Here's what I need to say about that one. I said that the King of Wands was Mars squaring Pluto, right? Mars squaring Pluto. Now this square is happening as Mars is in Aries and Mars is in Taurus because it does change signs. So we have Mars squaring Pluto where there's just going to be so much energy, right? Because Mercury in Gemini is already a lot of energy. Mercury is fast moving. Gemini is a fast moving sign. Jupiter ingressing into Gemini. Jupiter expands and grows. It makes things bigger. So it's already very fast, frenetic, nervous energy. Already that's going on. Then we have, for 14 days of Gemini season, we have Mars squaring Pluto, which good. I mean, King of Wands, get things done. Get things done. Be the mover and shaker. Get things done. But Pluto, what we forget, is also destruction. Pluto is also destruction, the Tower. Okay? So maybe to build something up, maybe to create your solid foundation, there is also going to be some transformation, which includes destruction of a current structure. Let me say that again. In order to create a foundation, in order to build, there is destruction of a current foundation that will need to happen. It will need to happen. Here we have Mars and we have Aries. Look at that. At the top of the card, Mars and Aries. So look, don't be afraid of change because Gemini is a sign of change. Gemini is all about change, right? Changing, mutable, it's fast. Mercury, mercurial, right? You've heard that term, mercurial. Changing. Don't be afraid of change. Because I think that the universe is giving you a gift during Gemini season. And that gift is all of this sweet, sweet, sweet stuff happening with all of these sweet aspects between the Sun and Venus and Jupiter, with Uranus there kind of helping with the changes, but making it nice and sweet. We've got all these nice aspects happening, but there's still change. The only constant is change, of course, right? So don't be afraid of the changes, because Mars is actually going to help you out. Mars is really going to help you out. If you can use Mars's energy for the positive for your life, Mars will absolutely help you out. So don't think of Mars as your enemy this month. Think of Mars as a power, a force that is really going to help you. But you really have to harness Mars's power and use it for good. Harness Mars's power and use it for movement, physical labor, something that's going to channel it in a very positive direction. And I think you'll be okay. So I want to thank you so much for joining me. Thank you for subscribing to my channel below. Click on the bell, scroll up to all for all notifications. Thank you for giving the video a thumbs up. Thank you for sharing this video with others who are into astrology. And thank you so much for your support of my YouTube channel. And of course, if you've noticed, I'm not monetized yet on this channel. So a way you can support me is by purchasing one of my 11 published books, or you can book a reading with me, and I'll see you in the next video.